Indeed. Folks, hold tight 1 second. Going to a break. We come back. We'll stay in Louisiana and we'll talk about a community group that's been fighting an environmental project for a very long time. They recently got a court victory. We'll explain exactly what that is. Also, folks, Avery Woodley, life coach, we've seen her on our fitness segments. She put together a powerful and emotional 7-minute video talking about the suicide of prominent DJ and dancer Twitch. It is one that you do not want to miss, where she gives her personal testimony about what she endured when she almost decided to commit suicide. We'll have that for you right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Something crazy, but I don't know what to do. I'd rather just sit here.
Hi, this is Cheryl Lee Ralph, and you are watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered. I mean, could it be any other way? Really? It's Roland Martin.
Barbara Johnson is missing from Bernice, Louisiana. The 14-year-old was last seen on November 4th. Barbara is 5 feet 4 inches tall, weighs 115 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information about Barbara Johnson should call the Bernice, Louisiana Police Department at 318-285-9933, 318-285-9933. Let's go to Georgia with the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. Guess what, y'all? He wants to end the state's election runoffs. He's calling on lawmakers to end general election runoffs when the legislature reconvenes in January. The move comes after 2 high-profile Georgia Senate runoffs. Georgia lawmakers are considering lowering the threshold for winning to a 45% plurality or using ranked choice ballots for voters. Raffensperger made this statement in a news release about his decision. Georgia is one of the only states in the country with a general election runoff. We're also one of the only states that always seems to have a runoff. I'm calling on the General Assembly to visit the topic of the general election runoff and consider reforms. Now, here's what happened here, Michael. They changed the law years ago to stop black people from winning. That's why they actually have the runoffs. And so now all of a sudden, let's now change it again. I kept warning people. Warnock wins. They're going to try to figure out another way to change what's going on here because they don't like losing.
Right. Well, it was State Representative Denmark Groover in 1963. He was a white supremacist segregationist, and he's the one that pushed the statewide runoff election law, and it was specifically designed to lock African Americans out of statewide power so that if in the primary election, if African Americans put all of their votes behind one African American candidate and white people split their votes between a Democrat and Republican Republican or what have you, if they could get a do-over. If no candidate got more than 50% of the vote, the top two vote getters had to go head-to-head in a runoff election, and that was designed so white people could coalesce their votes around one white candidate, regardless of political affiliation, and defeat the African-American candidate. Keep in mind, Georgia is the state with the largest Confederate monument in the country. So when Raphael Warnock won in January 2021 in that runoff election and beat Kelly Loeffler the second time, he pissed off a lot of white people, especially Republicans, because he defied the odds, okay? Stacey Abrams, Nsé Ufah, Black Voters Matter. So then he comes back around and he beats their black candidate, who's white supremacy through ventriloquism, Herschel Walker, okay? So now they're trying to figure out how to skin a cat again, okay, and how to undermine the African-American vote. So this is why we can't fall for the okie doke. We have to defeat them every step of the way.
You know, it's so funny here, Joe, that he's now saying, let's get rid of the runoffs. And I'm sorry, you want to lower to 45%? Wow. But I just keep trying to tell people, these folks are going to keep trying to rig elections so they can be guaranteed to win.
Obviously, somebody got in a room and said, now listen, how do we win? And, you know, he probably got some opposition from the folks he was talking to when they were there behind closed doors. He said, wait, now, hear me out. This is what we do. We get rid of the runoff, but we pull it down to 45%. So if we can have enough bottleneck at the beginning where not everybody that can vote gets out to vote, then we can win on that general election ballot. So clearly, some way or other, they believe that's going to benefit them. Of course, to say that now you just need 45% is interesting. But I think that the same thing that can make you laugh or end up making you cry. We have to continue our urgency as it pertains to voting. We cannot let that go away. And, you know, no matter how hard it gets, we have to continue to make sure that that's a priority so that however they change the game, we got to jump over two things instead of one. You know, they're going to go back to the poll tax they effectively had with some of this other stuff that they're doing, the voter ID stuff and things like that. Whatever it may be, we have to make sure that we're there and we meet this challenge with that urgency every single time. If we meet the challenge with the urgency every single time, then I don't expect a problem. We're going to have to still fight in the courts. We're going to have to still fight, no problems that we can't overcome. But it is certainly interesting that they're trying to change the game. It must be nice to be in a position to have a moving target and to change the rules when it's convenient for you. But I don't think that it'll come out the way it needs to ultimately anyway, if we stay urgent.
And look, we deal with this constantly on this show, Kelly, and how they roll. And they're going to keep trying to narrow as much as they can. But we just got to be prepared to outvote them every single time.
You got to be vigilant when it comes to people who like to change the rules of the game to benefit them each and every time. I'm going to echo the sentiments of the panel, the rest of the panel of, I think it's funny how they only want 45% now, as if Democrats can't get 45% first or anything like that. I mean, it's laughable how much bending over backwards they are willing to do in order to at least think that they could possibly have a shot. It is amusing to me, but it's also scary because if you don't remain vigilant, if you think that this is over just because Warnock is in office now, you got another thing coming. Like, there's still other elections coming up. There's always going to be another election coming up. There's always going to be democracy on the ballot. So as long as democracy is on the ballot, we need to get to the polls and make sure that the games that they play aren't going to be detrimental to us.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. When you talk about blackness,
and what happens in black culture. We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.